There's video. Hey guys, this video is meant to help you guys with some of the sources or give you a quick reminder over some of the sources over the positive aspects of industrialization. And this will help you with checkpoint one of the Industrial America Project, which, if you look, it's just looking at how did industrialization positively impact the United States? And then you're going to bring in evidence from two of the sources covered in class support your opinion. You must use these sources that we went over, okay? You guys got this on paper. It's in a packet. And here in a second, I'm going to go through like the main quotes that you can use, like the main ideas, just to refresh. So, source one, okay? Let me make sure I don't lose everything here. There we go. Source one, okay, was all about job creation. So, something positive you could talk about with industrialization for your paragraph is you could talk about the fact that jobs were being created and that these factories were giving these people chances to have opportunities for employment. This quote right here, it says, a man takes a few $1,000s of capital. Remember, that means money that a business earns, builds a workshop, buys raw material, and engages 100 workmen to manufacture boots and shoes. Some of you guys in your answers to the thinking question said that boots and shoes are being produced. That is true. You can include that. It certainly is significant that more goods are being produced. But the main takeaway from this is that more jobs are being created. Because these people have money, they're building these factories, aka these workshops, and all of a sudden, bing, bang, boom, now these people have jobs. And the reason that is so significant. So jobs are being created. The employer of labor is a benefactor. That's another quote that was in source one from Senator Stanford. And a benefactor means somebody that helps the situation. So he's saying the employer of labor, your employer, is a benefactor. Now, how is that the case? Okay, here's what the big highlight here. The great majority of mankind do not originate employments for themselves. Now, another word for originate is create. So I want you to think for a second, okay? How might the most people, how could somebody create a job for themselves? Take a second and think about that. Okay. The only way that you could possibly create a job for yourself is if you owned your business. But why can't most people do that? Why can't most people have their own business? It's because most people do not have the money for that. So people depend on an employer in order to have a job and to have money. Because it's one thing if it just said, if this guy in source one would have just been like, oh, these factories create jobs for people, that's great. But he goes a step further and he says that it creates jobs for people and they would not have this job if it weren't for somebody giving it to them, if it weren't for an employer. Okay? So, source one, you could definitely talk about job creation. That's the big thing. Source two, okay? Remember that was Andrew Carnegie talking about the gospel of wealth. And he's talking about this gap between the really, really wealthy and the poor. And you have to think, as a rich steel person, Carnegie's point of view or purpose in this article is it's going to be that industrialization is positive, obviously. And here's what Carnegie says. The contrast between the palace of the millionaire and the cottage of the laborer with us today measures the change which has come with civilization. In other words, he's saying that this income gap is actually showing how far society has come. And he really launches into a good argument, because look what he says. This change, however, is not to be deplored, okay, or hated, but welcomed as highly beneficial. It is well, nay, essential for the progress of the race. Okay, he's talking about the human race here. So he's saying that this income gap is required for society to progress, to move forward. And why is this income gap good? Well, here's what he says. Today, the world obtains commodities, aka goods, of excellent quality at prices which even the generation preceding or before this would have deemed incredible. Okay? This has led to a lot of people being able to afford more things and buy more things because you have more of a supply. Whenever you have more of something, the price goes down. So people are able to afford more and more goods. And if that doesn't make sense to you, then just think about it like this, okay? if you're kind of struggling to visualize it, because I know I can be a visual learner too. Let's say this is the only pencil, okay? Only pencil there is. What's the price going to be? Through the roof. But now I'm producing, boom, boom, and I got 3 pencils. What happened to the price because the supply went up? There's more of these now, so the value of it's not nearly as high. The price goes down, okay, and that's what's happening to the price of goods. These companies are mass producing all these goods. There are several goods out there, and the price overall is going down. People can afford to have all these things in their houses, all these goods. And here's the very powerful quote: the poor enjoy what the rich could not before afford. So here's what's significant, okay? Carnegie builds up his argument about the income gap being okay, this gap between the rich and the poor, because he is saying that the poor can now have goods that rich people did not even have. That is how far like society has come. The prices, because of industrialization, have went down so much that poor people can now afford what not even rich people had before. Okay, so that's definitely a good quote from source 2 that you can use right here. And if you're wondering where you can find the quotes, I attached it in a link in the checkpoint right there. And like, let's say you wanted to use the poor enjoy what the rich could not before afford, you could just copy and paste it and use that and then explain it. Okay, source 3. Okay, very easy. It's this political cartoon of Carnegie. Okay, it on the slide it's a little blurry, but on your packet and on the Google Doc it comes out a lot clearer. And in this picture, it's basically showing Carnegie donating his stuff to charity. Okay, his money to build these libraries. Okay, and a lot of you ask me, okay, do I have to explain anything else? No, you can just say source 3 shows how Carnegie and many others took their money and donated back to society. They were philanthropists. Okay, if you want to toss in that little vocab word there. But if you just say that he took his money and donated it back to society, then that'd be good. I would like for you to go a step deeper and explain why libraries were so significant. So kind of think about that why or the significance of it. Okay, and go in a little bit deeper. But like I said, this video was for your reference, okay? The digital copy of the source are right here if you want to take some of these quotes I've given you and copy and paste them. Just make sure that you use the in-text citations, okay? So according to source 1, you can put the quote, or you can do like a quote and then source 1 in parentheses after the sentence. I really don't care, as long as you tell me what source you're pulling from, but you have to use the sources we went over in class. No exceptions. And do not copy and paste from the internet. I will know. Okay. If you have any questions, let me know.